Today we will be doing laws of exponents. The first rule states to combine like terms with the same variable and power. The first example says a to the power of m times a to the power of m. Because the variables are the same, you will carry it over, which would be your a. And because the powers are the same, you will add them together. So your answer will be a to the power of m plus m. An example that would not work for this is a to the power of m times a to the power of n. Although the variables are the same, the powers are not, so it will not work. Our next rule states to add powers when multiplying. So the first example is a to the power of m times a to the power of n. Because the variables are the same, you can carry it over. And because the variables are different, you'll just add them. So a good example for this would be 2 to the power of 3 times 2 to the power of 4. Because the variables are the same, it will carry over, which is 2. And you will add the different exponents, which would be 3 and 4. And 3 plus 4 equals 7. The next rule states to multiply the powers in the parentheses with the power outside. An example for this would be a to the power of m inside the parentheses with the power of n outside. The variable, since there's only one variable, you will carry it over. And you'll multiply the two powers, which would be m and n. The math problem for this would be 5 to the power of 2 inside the parentheses times the power of 4. Because there's only one variable, you will carry it over, which would be 5, and you will multiply the powers, which would be 4 and 2. And 4 times 2 equals 8, so your answer will be 5 to the power of 8. The next rule states to subtract powers when dividing. So the first problem says a to the power of m over a to the power of n. Because the variable is the same, you will carry it over, which would be a. But because you have different powers, you must subtract. So you will do m minus n. So your answer will be a to the power of n minus n, whatever those numbers may be. A math problem for this would be 6 to the power of 6 over 6 to the power of 4. Because the variable is the same, which is 6, you will carry it over, which is already on the other side of the equation. And because you have two different variables, you will subtract them. So you will subtract 6 minus 4, which will give you 2, giving you the answer 6 to the power of 2. The next rule states any number or variable to the power of 0 equals 1. The first example is a to the power of 0. And because it's to the power of 0, no matter what, it equals 1. No matter how complicated the problem is, this rule will always apply. In parentheses, we have a to the power of 25, b to the power of 16, c to the power of 45, d to the power of 52, and e to the power of 10. Outside the parentheses, we have the to the power of 0. So every single variable in this equation will be multiplied to the power of 0. And because that power of 0 is there, it equals 1. The next rule states if the variables are different, but the powers are alike, you will multiply. The first example is a to the power of m times b to the power of m. Because the variables are different, you will multiply them. So you multiply the a times the b. But because the exponent or the power is alike, it will be carried over. And your answer will be a times b to the power of m. A math problem for this would be 2 to the power of 3 times 4 to the power of 3. Because the variables are different, you will multiply them. So you will multiply the 2 times the 4, which will give you 8. And because the exponents are the same, it will carry over. So your answer will be 8 to the power of 3. The next rule states if dividing by different variables, but the powers are the same, put the variables in parentheses and power outside. An example for this would be a to the power of m over d to the power of m. Because the variables are different, you will keep the fraction. You will carry over your variables but keep the fraction. So it will be a over d. But because the variables are the same, they will just carry over, which will give you a over d in parentheses to the power of m outside. A math problem for this would be 5 to the power of m over 3 to the power of m. Because the variables are different, you will keep your fraction and carry it to the other side, which will be 5 over 3. But because the exponents are the same, they will carry over. So in parentheses, you will have 5 over 3 and m outside them. Now we're going to talk about rules with negatives. The next rule is to flip the equation if the variable has a negative power. An example for this would be 1 over x to the power of negative 4. Because the x has a negative 4 power, you will have to flip the equation. So your equation will be x to the power of 4 over 1. When you flip the equation, your negative disappears, which will give you the answer x to the power of 4. Now that we have gone over all the rules, we will do 5 examples. The first example is b to the power of 3 times b to the power of 8. Notice how the variables are the same, but the exponents are different. So because the variables are the same in this problem, they will be carried over. And remember, the rule says if the variable is the same but the exponents are different, you will add your exponents. So you will add 3 and the 8. And 3 plus 8 is 11. So your answer will be b to the power of 11. Now we're going to try a slightly harder problem. The problem is 15 to the power 15 a to the power of 15 over 3 a to the power of 3. Now because there is a 15 over 3, you will solve it like any other problem. And 15 over 3 gives you 5 over 1, which gives you 5. And the variables are the same, so you will carry over your variable. And the rule states when dividing, you subtract your powers, which is 15 and 3. And 15 minus 3 is 12. So your answer is 5a to the power of 12. Here is another example. A to the power of 99, b to the power of 66, c to the power of 15, and d to the power of 9, all in parentheses with the power of 0 on the outside. Now, the rule states whenever there is a power of 0, the problem automatically equals 1. So in this case, since there is a power of 0, the answer is 1. Our next example is the variable x to the power of negative 8 over 2. The rule states whenever there is a negative exponent, you must flip your equation. So your new equation would be 2 over x 8. The reason why the negative is gone because whenever you flip your equation, the negative automatically disappears. So your new answer is 2 over x to the power of 8. Now this will be our final example. In parentheses, we have 9 to the power of 3, and outside we have the power of 2. Now the rule states, whenever this happens, you will multiply your exponents. Now because there is only one variable, you will just carry it over. So you will carry over your 9. But because there are two exponents and they are different, and one is inside the parentheses and one is out, you will multiply them. So you will multiply 3 times 2. And 3 times 2 is 6. So your final answer will be 9 to the power of 6. I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is your 401A and 401B lesson.